Hey guys, thought I'd just mention something today. Some thoughts came into my mind today about certain things. Um, like first of all, I just like to mention there've been different places of worship that made for different kinds of people. For example, for Christianity, you've got the church, mainly for Christians to come and pray. And then for the Muslims, you have the mosques, so that's really for Muslims to go in there and pray. But for the Sikhs, we have our Sikh temples, gurdwaras, and for the gurdwara, basically anyone from any background is allowed to go in there with their shoes off and head covered, and no alcohol or any influence of any drugs or smoking. You can go in there from any background and sit there and meditate and relax in the presence of our holy book, which is Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and then go downstairs and have a free meal, and then before leaving. So that's the difference there's a slight difference there between other places of worship and the Sikh Gurudwara, the Sikh place of worship. So, why is that? Why is that? Why is there a difference like this? In the Sikh religion, the Sikh masters that came, they basically were God in human form. And they created the Sikh temple for every child of God, every human being from any background to come home and sit to meditate and have a meal and then go and sit and relax and enjoy the peace there. That's the difference. That's a huge difference. So anybody can walk in there and have a meal, relax and bow to or sit there. If you don't believe in anything, you can just sit there and meditate and leave, and have a meal and leave. That's quite a significant difference. It's almost saying God is almost saying to every soul on the planet, every child of God, every person, to come home, son, come home, daughter, come and sit with me and have a meal and relax with me. That's what he's saying. That's what Sikhs are saying. That's what Sikhism is about. Now, I know a lot of people don't know about it, but this is what Sikhism is. So, and we have loads of people that come into in India, in the place of worship that we have there in India, the Golden Temple, and anybody from any background can come there and meditate and sit there and come into the temple, meditate, relax, and leave. That's a huge difference. There's a difference there, right? A slight difference there. So what am I talking about then today? So it's just, I have to put that in first to explain to people what this is about. Now, what is the Sikh temple? It's basically the temple of God. God is in there. God himself is actually in there. It's not just a room where people sit and pray or meditate. It is, the Guru Granth Sahib Ji is God. The writing of God is God, basically, and that's what the Sikhs go in there about. They're bowing directly to God himself. God is in spirit form in the Guru Granth Sahib Ji. God is present in spirit form in the Guru Granth Sahib Ji that people bow to. They're bowing directly to God himself. So it's a house of God. The God is, so anybody is welcome there. Anyone from any background is welcome there. Even the non-believers can come in there, sit down, relax. They're sitting with their Father as well. So what is this story I want to tell you about? Now that we know what the Sikh temple is and that this is the temple of God himself, now we know that. So this is a story about some time ago where a guy who's very worldly, got no idea of God, nothing, no connection with God, anything like that, and he walks into the Sikh temple, and in the Sikh temple there's a saint also was present, who also serves there and helps people in the Sikh temple. It's a saint, and he walks and has a conversation with the saint, and the saint says, he says, these people that you see sitting here meditating and listening to prayers, listening to songs of God that are going on right now, he goes, what do you see them as? He goes, what do you see when you look at them? He just plainly said, as he thought, as the time, he said, I just see them as dogs and cats. Because they're dogs and cats sitting here. He said, that's all I'm seeing. And he said, okay. You know, like animals, he goes, that's what he said, animals, dogs and cats. He goes, that's what I'm seeing. I see, and the saint goes, okay, no problem. Okay, so can you do one thing for me? He says, what? He goes, can you go and start serving in the kitchen? Start serving food to people that are coming and going. Start doing that, and any other service you can think of doing that you want to do. But serving is a very good start. Start serving. Go in there, do selfless service. Go in there, and just start giving food. That is the langar that we give out for people that come. That, as I just explained, is called langar. That food. Just give it out to people as they come, and just feed them. Okay, so started doing that. So sometime later, some days later, then the saint speaks to him again. He says, he goes, how's it going? He goes, oh, it was all right. He goes, then the saint asks him, now the people that you see sitting here that are meditating and praying, he goes, what do you see now? He just looked at the saint and he said, oh, they're just people, he said. So now his thought pattern has changed. He's now saying they're just people. They're just sitting there praying. They're just people, normal people, like people outside. And I said, right, fine, carry on. He said, carry on doing the service. So I carried on doing the, giving out the food for some time later, washing dishes, giving out food, things like that, serving in the house of God. And then some days later, again, the saint asks him the same question. He goes, now what do you see when you see these people? He goes, can you tell me what you see now? He goes, I'm just seeing some amazing guys, amazing people, very spiritual people sitting here meditating, he said. So he's now seeing that. This is what he's seeing. These people are spiritual. These are some amazing people that are just sitting and meditating. He goes, okay, carry on. So he says, all right, carry on doing your service, carry on. So anyway, he carried on doing it. And then after that, he asked the saint sometime later, asked him again as his mind starts to change even, differently even more. And he says, what do you see now? He says, after some days later, he goes, what do you see now, all these people that you see? He goes, I'm seeing, he says, looked at them, he goes, I'm like seeing saints. He said, like, I'm seeing like the very spirit, like saints really, like as if they're like, like you. I'm seeing them like you, like the way you are. And he says, no, okay, no. He says, the saint goes, no, carry on, he said. So he carried on for a little while longer. And then he carried on again and again, and then sometime later, the saint asks him the same question. He goes, what do you see now when you see these people? He goes, I'm seeing God. He goes, I'm seeing God in all of them. He goes, they're all God. And the saint goes, now you're okay. Now you can go. Now you got it. So that's the end of the story. Now this is kind of explaining, and this is now what's been happening to this guy whose thought pattern's been changing, and what's changed his thought pattern. Like first, when he walked in, he said when the question was asked, he said they're like cats and dogs. And just before he left, and then he said this is all God in human form. So what's changed in him? And the thing that's changed in him is his mind. Mind has changed. He's gone from a different plane. So he's basically changed planes as he went and served in the house of God. He's basically so his original plane was very low, and he started calling people dogs and cats and dogs and animals. I mean, that's a pretty low plane to live on. A mental plane or a spiritual plane that a person is living on, a mental plane, you know, that's his plane that he just sees, or he just sees that. And there are people of a lower plane than that, even further down, that are, you know, going out there killing people and having a laugh about it, or stealing and having a laugh about it. They're even on they're on an even lower plane. But anyway, going back to this guy, as he's serving in this temple of God, his spirit is altering planes, is going on to higher planes, because each time he's serving in the house of God, then he starts seeing people, just normal people. So then he served again, and he went to a higher plane, and then he started seeing amazing spiritual people sitting there and meditating. And then he carried on and he did it again, and then he changed, his plane changed, and he said, now I'm seeing saints. They're all saints, they're just like you. And then after that, he just carried on, the saint just carried on once again. And as he carried on again, and then he went to the highest plane in his mind. This is all going on in his mind. He's now, and then when he's got to that highest plane, he said, everyone I'm seeing here, everyone's God, because there's God sitting in every single one of them. And then the saint goes, that's it, that's it. So what is going on there? So how come what's going on? So inside him, that his mind is now seeing, as I said, obviously he's going on to higher planes. And you know, when you go on to higher planes, you become, so what is this service doing to him? It's actually purifying his spirit. So as he's going in there and he's doing this service, it's actually purifying his spirit each time for that period. And each time it gets to another level of existence, the mind, and it therefore starts seeing something else. It's almost like kind of getting onto a plane, right? And you fly up into the sky, and first you see birds, then higher up you see something else, then higher up then you come into the clouds, right? Then after the clouds, then you come into space, and then you're going on to space, and then you're getting onto a planet, then you're going on to another planet, and it's kind of going up and up and up and up and further away, towards God, basically, towards God. This is what is going on here. This is what went on here with this guy, and this is what he kind of experienced by the grace of that saint. So the saint is very powerful here. The saint has done something incredible for him. Unfortunately, in our Sikh community, we like to ditch saints. We say, don't go to this Baba, don't go to that Baba. And where Guru Granth Sahib Ji says, go to the Baba, go to this true saint, find the true saint. And if you can't find the true saint because you don't know if he's true, then ask me, and I will find you one. Come and ask me for the true saint. I will bring one into your life, and then you can get onto this path and become like this. So leave it at that. Something to think about. Take care. Bye.